Am I here? Am I live? Am I live? There I am. I'm live. Hello. Happy Monday, everybody. I feel like I start every video with my little wave, so felt weird that I didn't. Hello. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you did something fun. I hope you got to see some people at a safe social distance and do something nice. Hi Phyllis. I got to be back in the river with the manatees, and that was just an absolute joy. With the closing of the state parks, we weren't really, they weren't having the Manatee Observer program running, and so some of you know that I work as a volunteer for one of the state parks here in Florida, about an hour north of where I live. And this is a sanctuary for manatees, especially in the winter. We can get up to about 600 manatees in the winter. And baby, he's in the reading room. Sorry, there's boys walking around. I have two college kids. One is going to be a sophomore, and one just graduated. He's in the reading room. And the one is walking around with his brand new electric guitar. They can't see him. He's looking for my husband, I'm sure, to talk about some kind of rock and roll. So anyway, when they started reopening the state parks, then they were looking at, are we having manatees and stuff? And actually, the truth is that we have so many local manatees that that they just don't migrate because they don't need to. There's warm water, there's plenty of food, and so we have this program called the Manatee Observer Program, where we are in the water. In a kayak or walking on the boardwalk, and part of our job is to educate people about the manatees, because people come from all over the world to this park to see the manatees, and many people have never seen one before. Many people have never, have no idea what one even is. Some people come to the park just because it's a great place to swim, and so it was just really such a blessing to be in a place of such incredible nature, and to see the trees and the water, and literally, so we had otters, we had alligators, we had turtles, we had every kind of fish. We had osprey. There's this one osprey that I think it's the same one. He always dives from the same tree at the same time of day, so it's always about 1 o'clock. He comes up to this one tree and he perches, and then he just dives into the water, grabs up a fish, and flies straight up the spring run to, take his dinner home. And sometimes he has to try 3, 4, or even 6 times I've seen him try. And this time he got a fish on the first time. It was just really amazing. Blue heron and egrets, and of course the manatees. And so we got to, it was just really an amazing thing, and reminds me every day why nature is so incredibly important, that we are protecting nature. And it just breaks my heart every single day when I watch, the current administration in our country just ripping apart environmental protections, opening up the New England coast for commercial fishing, and all of the independent fisher families that really depend on the ability to fish there. And all the things, the battles that are going on in my state to protect the clean water, and all the rollbacks that this administration did and continues to do for to protect our clean inland waterways, the places where we get our drinking water, and the places where the manatees live. And it's just really heartbreaking to me to see how we continue to have big business just shit all over our environment, and it makes me very sad. But I know that many of these things are still tied up in court, and I donate whenever possible to the National Resource Defense Council, NRDC, and other in Oceana, and there's a For Ocean sticker on my computer, and it's just anything that we can do to help protect our environment and protect the creatures that live there. Because as we continue to raise our vibration, And, so much is going on. The whole Black Lives Matter thing is not over and only just reignited, if it was even unignited, on Friday as Atlanta exploded. And, um, and we are seeing so much of what we have, what has laid dormant in our society for such a long time. We are seeing it be, released like a giant pimple. It comes to the surface. You can feel a bump and a pimple, and you can feel that there's something there, but and then it comes to the surface, and then it just blows up. And I'm sorry for an ooey analogy, but it's really the truth. And so I continue to be, and I feel like I have been in this place of two hands since Trump came to office, which is I hate everything that he's doing to our minorities, to our civil rights, to our environment, especially to our environment, to our land, to our sea, to the Arctic, and our most precious treasured places. I mean, one of the first things he did was start coming in and attacking the national parks, and our most treasured places, like the Grand Canyon. That was one of the first things that they did. And so I hate everything about that. And at the same time, and I hate the unrest, and I hate the little winks towards the white nationalists and the racist tweets and the calls for violence, constant calls for violence. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it all play out. We've seen racism rise. We've seen police racism rise. We've seen anti-Semitism rise. We've seen anti-LGBTQIA rise. We've seen all of it rise. And then today, a little glimmer of hope with the decision from the Supreme Court that says discrimination is not okay. You cannot discriminate on a person based on their sex or gender or their sexual orientation. And that was a huge, huge win. And I loved seeing Gorsuch be part of the majority, because he's one of Trump's picks. And I just think that that's really absolutely fantastic. So there is hope. And one of the things that is really, that's so fantastic, Robin. One of the things that I think is so important is that we remember that we're continuing to rise, okay? And that as the light continues to rise, we have to, acknowledge there will be a rising of the dark, because as the light rises, so will the dark. There will always be yin and yang. And as the light rises and the dark rises, the people from the dark are starting to see the light. And it's so fascinating to see these conversations that are being, taking place. Huge win. It's fascinating to see these conversations that are taking place online, where people are starting, now some people, not everybody, are starting to understand white privilege. They're starting to understand what that looks like. They're starting to understand that maybe their filter is a little rose colored, and they're starting to see that there is a problem, and that maybe we need to be more aware of systemic racism in many directions, and I'm going to use that term in a more broad way, that we have systemic racism toward the Black community, toward the Hispanic community, toward the Jewish community. With the COVID virus, we're seeing it towards the Asian community. And then in a larger way, we're seeing this almost systemic racism towards our planet and to Mother Nature and the animals that live there. And so we're seeing this, but at the same time, what we're seeing is people waking up and understanding that this is no longer okay. We can't continue to ignore these things. We have to finally be willing to face and admit that there is a bigger problem. And I think that that's really what we're seeing right now, is that people are coming to a place where they're understanding that there really is a bigger issue that we need to come together to address. And so as much as my heart breaks to see the loss of life, the loss of our natural resources and our most beautiful places, the places that are home to endangered species, and our waterways, and all the different things that I could point to that I am heartbroken that are happening as our country is sold off to the highest corporate bidders, piece at a time. my heart is also nourished by seeing so many people that are waking up saying, wait a minute, this is no longer okay. And so I think it's really important that we are aware of what's going on. I think it's really important that we stand in solidarity to the people who are trying to make change. And I think that it's really, really important that we vote come November. I think it's really, really important that we vote. And for me, for the people who say that Biden is not the answer, right now, he is. You know, he wasn't necessarily my first choice. I don't think he's a bad choice, but he wasn't my first choice. I would really love to see our nation move away from old white men. But I think that if he's the choice we have, then he's better than what we've got. That's my opinion. And I understand that I'm sharing my opinions. I think it's just really important that we take the obligation to vote very seriously. And for people of privilege, white people, I'm talking to you. For people of privilege in this country, whatever you can do to offer a ride or water while people stand in line at polling places, I think especially in minority areas, it is going to be so important that we do what we can to help make it possible for every person of color that wants to and can legally cast a ballot, that they can get it done, whether that's through the mail-in or absentee or getting a ride to a polling place or whatever it is that we can do because we can, we should do. Okay, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying if you have the ability to be more flexible in your schedule and you can sign up to help, there are lots of organizations that offer rides that, folks go out and they just hand out waters. I know that maybe is a little dicey in the time of COVID, but with gloves and masks, there's a lot that we can do to help make sure that everyone who can cast a vote can cast a vote. Well, thank you, Sylvia. Thank you. And again, I know this is just my thoughts and opinions, but I think that it's going to get uglier before we get to November. And I think it's really important that we who understand and work in the light, that we continue to hold on to and do all that we can to help make sure the light is the rising tide and that the light will win. And I don't mean red and blue. I just mean that we continue to trust the universe and that doesn't mean sit on the sidelines and do nothing, but that we continue to trust the universe and that we continue to make sure that we're doing all that we can to support the rising light, which means, for me, it means protecting our environment, protecting our right to vote, and protecting our access to exercising our right to vote. All right, as you know, I pray before I turn that live switch and I say, please tell me what you want me to say. Open my mouth, let the words come out, and keep me out of your way. So whatever all that was, thank you for listening, and know that that was what they had asked me to share with you. I want you to know, in my office, in front of me is the table where I do Mary Kay appointments. This is my main office. It's not the room where I do readings. That's a much more Zen space. So this is my Mary Kay office. In front of me is a large table, chairs, and it's a place where we do product displays and we do skincare classes pre-COVID. There's a big mirror for people to be able to look and see, their beautiful faces. And above it, there is a light fixture with 4 lights. And before I started, as I was getting ready to come online, 2 of the lights were just flick, 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 flick. And as soon as I started talking about this information, the 2 of them went bing, and they have not blinked a lick since then. So it cracks me up because I think it's such my privilege to be able to share with you channeled information of what they want us to know. And it is a privilege for me to be used in that way. Okay, so I have been shuffling, and you probably have heard the thumping this whole time. I've been shuffling our Goddess Power Oracle cards, and so the one right off the top is Métis, and we're going to look her up and see what Métis has to tell us, and then we'll all giggle because her word is wisdom, and we'll all giggle with what Métis has to say. So Métis is 35. Let's see, and of course I opened right to 34. So here we are. Do I remember what I say? Sometimes I mean, no. If you ask me to repeat it, if people say, "Oh, that's really good. Can you repeat it?" I'm like, "No, can't repeat it." But I remember what I was talking about. I know I was just talking to you about the election and the environment and all of that, social justice. But what I actually just said to you, no, not really. So, but I trust them, and I know that they're not ever going to give me things that are a lie. And I know that they're not ever going to give me things that are not in the highest good of everyone. And that's where I firmly stand, that I know that they will never give me something that is not in the highest good of everyone involved. So, and as always, if you like what I'm saying, share the video, share me with a friend. I'm so excited. We are almost to 650 on our page. We're at 642 last I checked, so I'm super excited about that. And if you like what I'm saying, share me, please. Share the videos with your friends. Okay, Métis, goddess of wisdom. Experience woven together with knowledge creates a beautiful thing, wisdom. Its parts are entwined like a finely made rope that is so strong it can't be cut. Wisdom, once earned, becomes an essential part of you. Right now, the Greek goddess of wisdom, Métis, says, you know exactly what to do in your current circumstances. The real question is, do you have the courage and the commitment to make a wise choice? Your answer is not to hide. You're being invited to look within rather than without and take the wisdom you already have and apply it to your question. Perhaps, however, you must instead draw forth the humility to find someone wiser to weigh in. Okay, so for me, oh, sorry, Toby. For me, I love that because it's exactly in alignment. No surprise. It's exactly in alignment with what we were just talking about changing our filters and and looking at things, understanding that it's time for us to look at things in a different way, and understanding that it's time for us to really take a closer look at what's going on and to take off some of our white people privilege filters and to really walk some steps in some other people's shoes. And so I think that when we are taking off our filters and we're taking off our rose-colored glasses and we understand, if I was being treated that way, how would I feel? And my girlfriend had posted that, she is terrified. Like, she was terrified one day that she was driving and she did not signal before she made a legal turn, a right turn. How many of us drive in a car and don't signal when we even change lanes or we make a right turn? And she didn't signal, and she was absolutely terrified that she was going to get pulled over because she didn't signal. That's not even a thought in my mind. I signal because I'm being courteous to the other people around me. I know it should be the law, but it's not the law. And it never occurred to me that I would be pulled over because I didn't signal. And, 2 years ago, I had, I work as a director with Mary Kay, and I am blessed to have driven a Mary Kay free career car for the past 20 years. And we have earned 10 free cars. We're a biscuit away from earning our 11th free car. It is such a blessing. But Mary Kay they register the car. They pay everything on the car for me, and they register the car. And it used to be a longer registration. It used to be that they would pay the first year of the registration. And somewhere along the line, something changed, and I didn't know about it. So on the car that I'm driving right now, they had the registration, and it was only for 3 months. Because of when I earned the car, they registered it for like the end of that calendar year. So the car registration had expired, and I didn't know because it never even occurred to look at it, because for 9 other cars, it was a year, and I knew it was time to re-register the car when I got the notice from the DMV. So it never even occurred to me. And I got pulled over. I was coming back from my sister's house, and I got pulled over. An officer, white guy, comes up to the car, and he says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" I'm like, "No, I have absolutely no idea. I wasn't speeding. He's like, "Well, your tags are expired." I said, "What do you mean my tags are expired?" And I pulled the registration out of the glove compartment, and that was something else. People said that they don't keep their registration in the glove compartment. They keep it clipped to the visor because they don't want an officer to see them reach over and reach into the glove box and thinks that they're reaching for something. I didn't think a thing about it. The officer was standing right next to my car, and I reached over. I went in the glove box. He was standing right there. He didn't have his hand on his gun. He didn't seem alarmed by my presence. I wasn't alarmed by his presence. I reached into the thing and I looked at the registration. I said, oh my God, what do you know about that? And I handed it to him with my license. And I explained that this was a Mary Kay career car that I had just earned and picked up, and that in my experience of 9 other cars, and he stood and he listened to me tell my story. And he took the stuff back to the computer and he looked it up and he's like, okay, well, everything you said checks out. So, just go get it registered and update the thing and have a nice day. Stay safe. And I said, great, thanks. I'm going home. I'm going straight home. I'll do it on the computer right away. And I'll use my husband's car for a couple of days. It's not a big deal. Never thought another thing about it, that could have been a life-ending moment for me in any place along there, from being pulled over to reaching into my glove box to having a conversation with this guy that he did not give me a ticket or even a warning, where that could have been a finable offense, driving without, with an expired tag. He could have arrested me, but I'm white. And so it never even occurred to me that my life was in danger. But that's not the way that it is for other people that, my friends that tell me they keep their registration here on the visor, and that when the officer comes to the side of the car, they put the license and the registration outside the car with 2 hands so they can see the hands, or they have their hands on the steering wheel, and they do not move and they do not speak. And we don't really understand what it's like for others because we have not had to walk in their shoes. And so I really think that is so much of what is being brought to the surface with the wisdom card, is that we are being asked to listen, and we are being asked to learn, and we are being asked to shed the filters and take those blinders off and say, well, this is my experience. That's not how it is for you. Tell me how it is for you. Show me how it is for you. And if that was my experience and I had been pulled over, I would have been terrified. And so there's so much for our filter that we don't even understand is a filter, because we've looked through those same lenses our whole life, that we don't even understand we have glasses to take off. Have you ever had your glasses on top of your head and then you're looking all over because you can't find them, because you have them on top of your head for such a long period of time you forgot they were even there. You didn't realize that they were there because you were used to it. We have to take our glasses off of our face because we're so used to looking through one set of lenses that as a society it is time to change the prescription. Okay, so we move on to our Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light Oracle cards, and I have been so enjoying watching. Hay House has been running a series of card reader experts sharing their wisdom, a series of videos, and have been really enjoying watching them. And I was watching today and a gentleman named Radley Valentine, who is marvelous, was talking about his favorite decks. Now, Radley is a very well-known and acclaimed tarot card reader, and he has put out several decks of his own. But when asked what his favorite decks were, he said, my absolute favorite deck is Rebecca Campbell's Work Your Light Oracle. And that made me very happy, because that has really, I've been working with this deck since November, and it really has become my favorite deck as well. So I was very, that gave me a smile. Okay, so I have shuffled, and what do we need to know for the greatest good today? I love these cards. Trust your path. Trust your path. If you knew you would be supported, what would you do? I think it's been so fun that they had him. And Phyllis, I tell you, I love anytime Kyle Gray could read the phone book and I would listen. I love that Scottish accent. Oh my gosh. Okay, so trust your path. Trust your path. This is, I absolutely love this because it's so right on with what we've been talking about. If you knew that you would be supported by the universe, what would you do? And I think that we can take that one thought and expand it out, because that's what's happening. The universe is supporting all of this unrest, all of this shakeup. It's like we live in a snow globe and somebody went, right? And the universe is supporting this grand shakeup of not just our country, but so many countries, the planet, and just the universe is supporting this. And it's so hard to remember when we see all the unrest on TV. And then I have friends who live in Seattle. Actually, one of my girlfriends, her name literally is Shari Dworkin, the same name as me, and she lives in Seattle, and she and her partner have been going down to the neutral zone, the zone of peace that they have there. And it is really an amazing kind of commune that has just popped up there as a peaceful response to the protests. And so I feel like really what's going on with the universe right now is that we are being supported. We are being supported by the universe as we move through this time of unrest. We are being supported by the universe as we're moving through this time of great change and shakeup and reclamation is the word that they just put in my head, is reclamation, that we are reclaiming what is right. We are reclaiming our society. We are reclaiming our peoplehood. We are reclaiming our values. We're reclaiming love and society. Hello, Monica. My heart's so happy to see you, my dear friend. But we are reclaiming what is right, and we are reclaiming a better way. And I am so encouraged. I never want to see destruction of property. I'm so sad for the Wendy's that burned, and I'm sadder still for the Y. And I pray no one was inside or hurt at the time. But I understand the frustration. People are not being heard. And I think it's really magnificent that the mayor and the police chief and the state attorney immediately did the right things. And so change is hard, and it's painful, and it's uncomfortable. But you have to be willing to take off the glasses, and you have to be willing to be uncomfortable in order to make change. But we can make change knowing the universe absolutely has our back, and that makes all the difference in the world. So then we have Priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? Oh, this is good. How are you being called to step up and lead? Are you being asked to step into a protest? Are you? When we drove to the Manatees yesterday, we saw a lovely white couple on the side of the road holding up a sign that said Black Lives Matter. And they were just standing there, just two people on the side of the road holding up their sign. And I loved them, and I blew them kisses. I don't think they saw them, but that's okay. And I love that they were taking a stand. Just some lovely white people saying, you matter, you are important. And that message is so important and so empowering and so filled with love and so filled with listening. You matter, so I want to hear what you have to say. You matter, so I want to walk with you on the path, on wherever we're going. And someone sent me a video today. Hello, Elias. Oh my goodness, the Elias Patras is on my video. I can't stand it. I love it. So wherever it is that you are being called to step up to lead, that you are being called, where are you being called to step in? Because we are all priestess to somebody. And if you think about it, we are all priestess to somebody. We are all wisdom carriers and way finders for somebody in our lives. And so where we are being asked is to stretch our wings and to widen our stance, to be the wisdom carriers for others. And part of sharing your wisdom is not just spitting out guidance, but part of sharing your wisdom is the listening. And one of the biggest things that we're being asked to do right now is to listen, to hear the stories of racial injustice and prejudice from our friends of color, our friends in the LGBT community. We are being called to share our wisdom and lead by example, by listening and then walking with them along the way. That is the way that we pick up one person, we pick up another person. There are bridges to be built. I watched this happen on my very own Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, because if you follow me on my personal Facebook page, you know, you're welcome to. It's public. You don't need to be my friend. But it's, I'm a Facebook shit starter. So, and I admit it, I will put up, you know, a post just to get people talking, not to start fights, not to start arguments, but to start a discussion. And because anybody who comes on my page, they know if you are mean or nasty, it's deleted. Like your comment is deleted, and then I'll message you and say, hey, look, we keep it respectful on my page. But I encourage the dialogue, and it was so fascinating to watch this one white woman who I know and adore, and this one black gentleman who I know and adore, and the two of them kind of sparring with each other, only to find in a respectful back and forth, they actually were on the same page. And to watch them come together was such a beautiful thing, because I think that there are so many people that are out there that share the same thoughts, but don't know how to express them in another language that would allow the other person to understand that they're actually together. And that is so much of where wisdom comes in. That is so much of being able to listen so that we can hear what the other person is saying, and being able to say, yes, I hear you. I'm with you. I'm with you. And that is so much about wisdom, because it's not the wisest, you know, the person, if you look at, you know, movies of the elders, they're not the ones who are like, blah, 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 blah. They're the ones who are listening, and they're observing what's going on around them. They're listening. And when we get into that space where we're really committed to listening, when you speak, when you share, that's wisdom. And so you're being asked to step into the conversation. You're being asked to step in and lead, to take a stand in your small circle. And you've heard me talk about the circles of the drops on the water, making the circles and bumping into each other's circles and creating that cavitation that creates that beautiful wave. You've heard me talk about that. And so we're being called to step into that time of cavitating off of each other and standing for others, even if we're not, you know, knowing the exact right way. And even just today, I sent a message to a girlfriend of mine. I said, I need to vent about this. This is a somebody sent me a video of black gay, it was black LGBT folks for Trump. I don't understand that at all. And so I sent it to my friend who is black, and I said, can you please explain this to me? And she said, nope, can't. And we had this conversation, and I said, thank you for letting me vent, because this frustrates me no end. I can't even imagine how frustrating it is for you. And please tell me if I have not expressed myself correctly, or if I'm in the wrong here. And she's like, no, no, no. And, you know, and we shared, and everyone is entitled to their opinion, and everyone is entitled to their thoughts. Absolutely. But it is so much about learning how we express ourselves, because I see white people saying things that are well-meaning, but are not phrased in a way that a minority would hear the intention behind the words. And so we are being called to step up and lead and share our wisdom, and we are being called to hold up a sign and get clearer. You know, when you write words on a protest sign, you got to be concise. There's not a lot of room. You got to be clear. And so we're being called to really get clear about what is important and what kind of a world we want to shape as we go forward, as we take off those glasses and we go forward in a new way. We got to get clear with our words. We got to get clear with our actions. We cannot live in this blurry, oh, listen to, you know, look at the actions. Don't look, he didn't mean what he said. We got to get clear. Wisdom is listening and getting very clear and very conscious about the words we choose to use. Sylvia, I love you so very much. You know that I do. And I don't that other races suffer indignities, absolutely. But I don't personally embrace the All Lives Matter platform, because all lives are not being unfairly stopped by police. All lives are not being higher at risk of being killed for a routine traffic stop. All lives are not. I mean, just in LA, outside of LA, in the city of Palmdale, where I have friends who live in Palmdale, just in the last week, they found 2 black men literally hung from a tree. 50 miles apart, 2 black men that were hung by a rope and a neck at a tree, which is lynching, which our government finally made illegal. And they're calling it a suicide. And I'm sorry, but it's not. I mean, and I don't have the facts, but I find it very unlikely that 2 black men in their 20s would have chosen to end their lives in the manner that is the most hateful and anti-black way imaginable. I don't buy it. And so there is a lot of wrong in our societies, and there's a lot of anti this group and anti that group. I'm a Jewish woman, so I mean, I get it. But with our brothers and sisters and our friends in the black community, it is not the same. And so when they say, don't talk to me about all lives matter, because they're being lumped in with anti-Semitism, and as much as there is anti-Semitism, they're not banging on my door trying to hang me from a tree. And as much as there's anti-Semitism, they're not going to kill me at a traffic stop, please God willing. And so there is a difference. And I think it's important that we keep the focus, because this is really about inequality in our society, and it is about police actions and police activity in our communities. And there's always going to be some other problem for us to solve. But when we lump it all together, which is what has happened for years, because I have been just as guilty as but all lives matter. We're all the minorities are important. And I believe that. But I think that right now we have to look at dealing with one problem at a time. And when we get away from that and that clarity, and that we get away from that into all lives matter, it gets muddy. And I come right back to this card of wisdom with the priestess, that we are being called right now to clarify our words and be very clear about what we believe and what we say. And I think it's so important that we have to keep the focus on Black Lives Matter for the moment. And that as we are seeing, we're seeing change. We are seeing change as police departments across the country are starting to look at what, especially in big cities, what changes can they make in Miami, in San Francisco, in Seattle, and will come in Atlanta. We're seeing that all of these, it is starting to make a difference, that there will be change. And at the same time, we're still fighting over here for LGBTQIA rights and the big victory today. So it's so easy to put it all together, but I think we really have to keep shining the light on the Black Lives Matter right now, and stay away from the All Lives Matter trap, because I think that's a place of that filter, that white filter that we can fall into. And I think it's really important that we stay away from that. Yeah, the social justice, and it's been it's alarming to me to see the part of the Black Lives Matter platform that includes anti-Semitism, and it's marvelous to see how many of the people who support Black Lives Matter are not supporting that. And it's nice to see that part of it being called out, to say, no, we've got you, Black Lives Matter, we are with you, but you need to take the hate out of your doctrine. You need to take the hate out of your platform, because we can't heal hate with more hate. We can't. And that's where I think we really need to get to with, when we come back to November, we can't heal hate with more hate. We have to heal it with something else. And that is, again, taking our glasses off, taking our filters off, and being willing to listen, and being able to hear the folks around us. And when they're crying out in pain, to be able to say, I'm with you. We're going to change this together. And so I really, okay, it says, Keepers of the earth, you are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand beside you. I'm not making this up. There's nothing more for me to say with that. The cards do not lie. They take my breath away every time. They give me the words to say. They come out of my mouth. I thank them. I ask them to take me, the left brain, the ego, out of the way, and that they should share with me what needs to be shared based on whatever card they have put at the top of the deck. And we are supported. We are being guided. We are being lifted every single step of the way. You are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand beside you. Ancient ancestors of every color, of every nationality, of every walk of life stand beside us and support us. It is time to listen. It is time. Okay, I'm listening. They're telling me to pull one more card. It is time to listen. It is time for us to come together as a society. Soul family. Soul family. Call in your tribe. You don't have to do it alone. Soul family. So they say pick up one more card. So I pick up soul family. Okay. We are in this together. We are all in this together. We create change in our world. We create change in our planet, in our environment, and in our government when we stand together to support the rights of everyone, to support love, to support protection of equal rights under the law. The right to protest, the right to have a different opinion, the right to drive your car and not put your life at risk of being killed when you're stopped by a police officer. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that is really what it is about. So we are, to recap, guided by Métis this week of wisdom. I don't choose the cards. They jump to the top of the deck when I shuffle them. The cards come that want to be pulled forward. So we have Métis, goddess of wisdom, who is guiding us in the right direction. We have to trust that we are going in the right direction. And everything we've pulled today has been about that same wisdom. Keepers of the earth, our ancient ancestors, are with us and supporting us. Being the priestess, leading by example, stepping in, holding up your sign, letting people know that they matter, letting people know we stand with them, letting people know very clearly and concisely that we stand with them, okay? Trusting our path, knowing that we are supported. We had 3 cards that shared that we were supported. Keepers of the earth, trust your path, and soul family. 3 cards this week that talk about you are being supported. As we move through these very difficult days of change, we are being supported. We are being supported. We are being supported. We are being supported. Even so much that they said, pull one more card for soul family. We are all in this together. And so we must stand with our Black brothers and sisters, and we must support change, and we must help create one human race. But we do that one person at a time, and we do that by sharing messages of love. Hate is taught, love is caught. It's a very different philosophy. I want to thank you for spending time with me today. Oh my goodness, we went so long today. I want to thank you for spending time with me today. If you like this video, share it with a friend. Please share it with a friend. Share my page with a friend. Invite people to like the page. We're almost at 650 people in our group. I'm so excited, especially as we get getting ready to launch our online classes. There's going to be more lives, and you guys are going to have access to all of these things before anybody else. And I'm super excited about it. Soul family! And I'm super excited about it. So thank you so much for being with me. Thanks for spending some time. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me a message or type them in here. I always come back and look at the comments. You can also follow me on YouTube. I'll be posting this video there later today. So if you missed it, don't worry. All right. Have a wonderful week. I love you. I am blessed by you all every single day. Thank you for spending some time. Love and light, safety, hand sanitizer, masks. Stay safe. Love you. I pressed the button. That video doesn't end. I'm still here. still here?